revising periodic classification of elements, which is chapter number 2 of Science 1. The first thing that we will look at is what and why. What and why? If we go with the name of the chapter, it says periodic classification of elements. So in what and why, we will try to understand once again or revise what are elements and why do we need classification. So here comes the first question on your screen. What are elements? Matter or substances that are made up of only one type of atoms. They are called elements. The examples of elements will be hydrogen, oxygen, not water, not carbon dioxide. Water and carbon dioxide are compounds. Similarly, the water that we get in a river, the water that we get in an ocean, those are not compounds, they are mixtures, because along with water they have many other substances, including salts and acids and other bases also. So we have studied about these basic types of substances: elements, compounds, and mixtures. Why classify the elements? Why do we need to classify the elements? We can say that we need to classify the elements to study and understand them easily. Okay? So the operative words in this answer are study and easily. Now you can compare it to a teacher teaching a class of 88 students. That is our class. Now, if I try to teach all 88 of you separately, I will never be able to teach. We will never be able to study. We will never be able to complete our studies. But if I group you, if not one group, if there are say 6 groups, as we had on WhatsApp, then it is easier to teach. Similarly, instead of trying to understand each and every element, if we can group them, classify means to group them. If we can group them, then instead of studying every element, we can just study each group, and then we will have to study a lot less. The study will be easier. So those are the words that were required in the answer. The next part of the chapter had some history, and the next part of the chapter also had the structure, that there was a person, he did something, and then it was wrong. Okay? This was the structure. So the next part of our revision will be who, how, and what. And this will also be in the question and answer format. Now, the first name that we studied in this chapter is Dobrynin. What is it that he said? When you come across, when you hear this word, when you read this name, Dobrynin, what is the other word that comes to your mind? If we think about Dobrynin, of course, he was a German scientist. We should also be thinking about triads. We say Dobrynin's triad. Next question. What is it that he said, or what was his theory based on? What was his theory based on? What did he do? Aman is saying related to atomic mass. Yes, correct. It is he said something related to atomic mass. What did he do? How did he group the elements? How did he classify the elements? How many elements did he classify together? So this scientist, he worked with groups of 3. He grouped 3 elements into each group. He took 3 elements and put them in one group, and not any 3 elements. He took 3 elements such that the atomic mass of the middle element was the average of the atomic mass of the other 2. Atomic mass of the middle element was the average of the atomic mass of the middle element was the average of the atomic mass of the other 2. For example, very simple example is the example of lithium, sodium, and potassium. Lithium, sodium, and potassium. Aman, it's not 3 groups, it is groups of 3. There is a difference. 3 groups means 3 group the. Groups of 3 means एक group में 3 थे. So groups of 3. For example, lithium, sodium, and potassium. When we take the example of lithium, sodium, and potassium that you see on the first page of the chapter, the atomic mass of lithium is 6.9, atomic mass of sodium is 23, and the atomic mass of potassium is 39.1. So the middle element here is sodium. Now, the reason he grouped them together is because when we take the average of the atomic mass of lithium and potassium, lithium is the leftmost or lightest element here out of these three, and potassium is the heaviest or the rightmost element here. So 6.9 plus 39.1 divided by 2. This is how we calculate the average of two numbers. So when this average is calculated, it comes to 23. And 23 happens to be the atomic mass of sodium. That is why he grouped lithium, sodium, and potassium together. And he observed that when he did that, the properties of lithium, sodium, and potassium, they were similar. He found the same thing in case of calcium, strontium, barium. He found the same thing when he grouped chlorine, bromine, and iodine together. Atomic mass, groups of 3, atomic mass of the middle one, average of the other 2. Although Dobrynin gave this law, or Dobrynin proposed this triads, but did it work? Was it right? Was it not right? And fortunately for us, Prachi has already answered that it did not work for all the elements. Yes, correct. He could not use this rule to correct all the known elements. And if this rule cannot be used to classify all the known elements, then of course this rule will not be applicable to more elements that can be found. So scientifically speaking, it was proven that this rule, the rule of triad, is not correct, or at least there was no proof of it being always correct. What's the word that comes to your mind when you come across this name, John Newlands? What's the word? Very good. The word that should come to your mind is octave. The word that should come to your mind is octaves, and you can easily remember that जैसे हमारे म्यूजिक में सारे गामा पाधा निसा 7 सुर होते हैं, and the 8th note is same as the first note, so octaves. And yes, he gave the law of octaves. Yes, Aman, correct. But what did he work on? What was the basis of his theory? Was it atomic mass or something else? What was the basis of atomic mass? Correct. So just like Dobrynin, Newlands also worked with the atomic mass of the known elements, because at this point in time, it's very, very early in modern science, and people still don't know the actual structure of atoms and what all they constitute, right? So, but they are somehow using clever mathematics and science, they are able to measure the mass, but they are not able to see what is inside the atom. So they are working with atomic mass. And yes, all of you have already answered. He gave us the law of octaves, and the law reads, every 8th element has properties similar to the first element. Right? He arranged, correct Prachi, he arranged the known elements in the increasing order of their atomic mass. And when he did that, he observed that every 8th element has properties similar to the first element. And if we take an example, the example is very similar to what Dobrynin did. Lithium and sodium. So if we start counting from lithium, then sodium becomes the 8th element, and we know that the properties of lithium and sodium are same. So they can be grouped together. What was the status of this theory? What was good? What was not good about this theory? Was it right? Was it wrong? Right? Yes. So either you saw it in the textbook or you saw it on the slide. That's fine. So this law also could not explain everything. First of all, it did not. He arranged this table. He arranged all the elements that he knew at that time in a table. And when he did that, he just arranged all the elements sequentially in the order of atomic masses. So that left no space for any new elements that could have been discovered. Also, the law did not work for any element beyond calcium. Okay? Very good. It did not work for beyond calcium. So there were some other things also. What we are doing during this revision is we are looking at the main aspects of all this development, research, theory. What was good, what was not good, what was correct, and what was not correct. Mendeleev or Mendeleev. What did he work with? What did he say? When we hear the name, when we come across the name Mendeleev, what other thing should come to our mind? Khadija is saying periodic table. Okay. Karthik is also saying periodic table. Okay. But even before the table, he said something else. He was the proponent. He was the first person to propose something, which was the periodic law. Before this, Dobrynin or even Newlands, they did not say anything about periodicity of the properties. Mendeleev is considered to be the first person to observe that properties of elements are periodic function of their atomic masses. Properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic masses. So, what did he work on? Did he work with atomic masses or something else? It's very clear. It's already, Chand is saying no. So he did not work with atomic masses. Chand, he also worked with atomic masses, 100%. Right? The starting point of Mendeleev's work is also atomic mass. But in addition to atomic mass, he looked at something else. No, Chand, he definitely did not work with atomic number. In addition to atomic mass, he worked with something else. What is it that he looked at while he was classifying the elements? In addition to atomic mass, he also looked at the physical and chemical properties of the elements. So much so that when he was arranging the elements in the order of their atomic masses, he did not blindly follow the atomic mass. He did not. He had the intelligence, he had the foresight that it is possible that I don't know everything. Maybe there are still some elements to be found out. So he did not commit the mistake that Newlands did. Newlands blindly followed atomic masses and he put all the elements one after the other. But Mendeleev, he gave more importance to the properties than to the atomic mass. And because he did that, he ended up leaving some spaces blank in his arrangement. That is his brilliant thing. So here's two things he has done. One, he has used something more than just atomic mass. And second, he's not blindly following the atomic mass. He has given more weightage to physical and chemical properties. Because he was so confident about his process of using physical and chemical properties, and he stuck to the original agenda, original goal. The goal is to classify in such a way that we have similar elements in a group. So when Dobrynin and when Newlands were doing that, they did not stick to that. They just followed the atomic mass. But this guy, he's following the properties, and because of that, he said that maybe some atomic masses are wrong. Right? His research, his work led to further correction in the atomic masses of the known elements. Also, his process gave us enough space in his periodic table for new elements that were yet to be found. Correct. Khadija is remembering that when the noble gases were discovered, they could be added as zero group. Correct. Right? But mainly it is about how he's thinking and how he's approaching the problem. He's sticking to the basic goal, which is about classifying the elements, classifying similar elements together. And that is why, because he has the focus, he has the discipline, he is able to do it. And also he has the humility to think that maybe he doesn't know everything. And you have already said what even this theory could not solve was placement of isotopes, because isotopes are different atoms, different types of atoms for the same element. And the difference is because of the number of neutrons. But he did not know that. And when the number of neutrons are different, the atomic mass is different. Although the element is same, the atomic mass is different. Also, because of different isotopes, some of the atomic masses was calculated as decimals. How do we keep it? This was one of the big problems. Another problem was hydrogen. Because hydrogen, it was similar to fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. It was also similar to lithium, potassium, those elements. So where to keep it? These were still a couple of questions that Mendeleev and his law, his work could not answer. Next came the modern scientists. And by this time, an important discovery was made. We were able to know that atoms are not indivisible. Atoms are divisible. They have a very solid core, which is the neutron, which is tightly packed with protons and neutrons, and electrons are revolving around them. So the concept of something else was given, a new concept, and that was used by the modern scientists. What was that concept? The modern scientists, because they knew atomic number, they used that concept and they proposed a new law, modern periodic law, not Mendeleev's periodic law. This is modern periodic law. And the only change from Mendeleev's law is instead of atomic masses, they said atomic numbers. The law now reads, the properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic numbers, not atomic masses. Correct, Alfia, atomic number. Khadija, we will come to that, what you have written. We will come to that in some time. And this was perfect. This was perfect. This law, using this concept, we could find the correct places for the isotopes, because all isotopes of one particular element, they have the same atomic number. And because they had the same atomic number, they could be placed at just one place. Doesn't matter whether we are talking about carbon 12 or carbon 14. Both carbons have 6 protons in their nucleus. So the atomic number is 6. So whether it is carbon 12 or carbon 14, both are kept at the same place. Similarly, the place of hydrogen, right? Hydrogen is just 1, so keep it at the start. So using that common sense, modern scientists made the classification so perfect. So the result, what is the result of all this research? The work done by Dobrynin, Newlands, Mendeleev, modern scientists, and many others. What was the result? The result was a beautiful looking table, which is called the modern periodic table. This is the table which classifies all the elements that we know till now. 118. So how is this table structured? If I say columns, what will you say? How many columns are there and what are the columns called? Karthik, I'm talking about columns. Prachi is saying that we will call the columns as groups, correct? So how many groups are there in the periodic table? Look at the table. 18 columns which are called as groups, correct? Perfect. What if I say horizontal rows, then what should you tell me? Karthik has already answered that. Periods. And how many periods are there? 7. 7 rows, 7 periods. Okay. Now, what happens when these 18 groups and 7 periods intersect with each other? We have boxes. How many boxes are there? X Excellent. 118 boxes are there, and you will see that in one box there is only one element. So we have 118 known elements, each in their own sweet box. No fighting, nothing, no confusion at all. But again, it is not that simple. Some groups are together. When groups are considered together, what do we call them? Group of groups, group of columns. What are they called? Blocks. There are 4 blocks. On the left hand side, we have the S block. On the right hand side, we have the P block. Between the S and P, we have the D block. And at the bottom of the main table, we have the F block with 2 rows of elements. Together, we have 18 groups, 7 periods, 818 boxes, 4 blocks to show 118 elements. What is the basis of this arrangement? What is the underlying logic of this arrangement? Explicit is very, very clearly. Thank you, Prachi. It is the atomic number. We have arranged the elements in the increasing order of the atomic number. Very good. This was the easy question. Now comes the difficult question. What is the implicit basis of this arrangement? जो बताया नहीं गया है, लेकिन है. We have arranged the elements by the order, in the order of their atomic number. But while doing that, we have ended up doing something else. What is it? We have considered something else. Thank you. We have considered the electronic configuration. And this is the essence. This is the essence of the modern periodic law, the modern periodic table. That we started with atomic number, but the way the atoms are structured, the number of protons and number of electrons that they have, they are same. So when we say atomic number, we are also referring to number of electrons, not just the number of protons. And when we are referring to number of electrons, the electrons are not there randomly. They are arranged in a specific way in shells and subshells. And that results in the specific properties that the elements, that the atoms have. So without even knowing properly, we have actually done the right thing. We started with atomic number and we have ended up arranging it by electronic configuration. So before we get into the periodic table, let us meet our friends again. Who are these friends? You should remember them by now. There are not just 1 or 2 or 3. There are 20 of them. The elements from hydrogen to calcium. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon. सही बोला हमने. And then potassium and calcium. The 20 elements. And what we need to know about these 20 elements are, number 1, their names, correct names with correct spellings. The symbols. For example, hydrogen, we need not write HYDROGEN. We can just use the symbol H. Calcium, CALCIUM. We don't need to write CALCIUM. We can just use the symbol Ca. These things we studied last year. Right? Potassium is not P. P is phosphorus. Potassium is K. Now, if I ask you, what is the electronic configuration of hydrogen? What will be your answer? Type it in the chat. The atomic number of hydrogen is 1. So the electronic configuration will be simply 1. Absolutely easy. No problem at all. Try another element. Beryllium. What will be the electronic configuration? So you will have to start from the atomic number. Find the atomic number, then try the electronic configuration. Share it in the chat. As some of you have rightly identified or rightly found out that the atomic number of beryllium is 4. So the electronic configuration will be 2, 4. In the first shell, we can have maximum 2 electrons. So 2, we cannot have 3 in the first shell. So the other 2 will go into the second shell. Electronic configuration will become 2, 2. Try another one. Aluminium. Find out its atomic number and then try its electronic configuration. Share it in the chat. As some of you have correctly found out, the atomic number of aluminium is 13. Atomic number of aluminium is 13. So the electronic configuration will be 2, 8, 3. Why? Because the first shell can have 2 electrons. So 2 हमने भर दिया. The second shell can have 8 electrons. So 8 डाल दिया. 2 and 8 is 10. और 3 बचे. That will go into the third shell. So 2, 8, 3. Try another one. Argon. Find its atomic number and try its electronic configuration. You rightly identified, you rightly found out that the atomic number of argon is 18. So the electronic configuration will be 2, 8, 8. Why? First 2 in the first shell, second shell can contain 8. So we pull it by 8. That we still have 8 more. So we can keep the remaining 8 in the third shell. 2, 8, 8. Try another. Calcium. Find its atomic number and try its electronic configuration. You will also tell me why it is the way it is. You have rightly identified that the atomic number of calcium is 20. This is the 20th friend in chemistry that we have. So when we try the electronic configuration, the first 2 will go in the first shell. The next 8 will go and sit in the second shell. The third shell can have 18 electrons, but the third shell is not that simple. When the third shell is full of 8 electrons, then before filling the remaining 10, the fourth shell starts filling. We studied this in terms of shells, subshells, and how they are filled. If you remember, Aufbau principle, the electrons are filled based on the lowest energy of the cell and subshell. So 4s has lower energy than 3d. That is why 4s में electron भरना शुरू हो जाता है and the electronic configuration becomes 2, 8, 8, 2. After revising about how the classification of elements developed over the years, how we have finally classified the elements in the modern periodic table, which uses the modern periodic law, and we have understood that it is based on atomic number and electronic configuration. We have also had a quick look at the electronic configurations of 4 or 5 elements. Let us now try to understand the periodic table in a little bit more detail. And let us once again start with some very, very simple questions as to some special groups, some special families of elements, right? So I will show you one part of the name. You will find out where exactly they are. Okay? Alkali metals, where are they in the periodic table? Correct, Prachi. They are group 1 elements. First group on the left hand side. First group, group 1. They are alkali metals, correct. Alkaline earth metals, where are they? Alkaline earth metals. Correct. Once again, Prachi, correct. It is the second group of elements. So when you see the elements like beryllium, magnesium, calcium, so they are called alkaline earth metals. Another question. Halogens, where are they in the modern periodic table? Halogens. Look at the periodic table, correct? Karthik, wrong answer. Prachi, correct answer. Group 17. Many people get this wrong. When we look at the long form of the periodic table in the D block, in which the D block is shown, then the correct answer is group 17. If the D block is not shown, then it will be group 7. In the long form, it is group 17, halogens group 17. Final question. Noble or inert gases, where are they? Correct, Prachi. Correct, Chand. They are the rightmost group. Group number 18, which Mendeleev was saying that we can have as group 0. And even now, some people call it group 0. But keeping it simple, counting from left to right, one at a time. If on the leftmost, if the leftmost column is, leftmost group is group 1, the rightmost group will be group 18. So let us stick to group 18, noble or inert gases. Very good. You know your way around the periodic table. The final part of this content, which is periodic classification of elements, is once we know that the way the periodic table is, once we have understood the basis of the periodic table, then what are the trends? What do we observe in the periodic table? Okay? Once again, we will revise this in the question and answer format. It will be very, very structured. No need to worry. First one, valence electrons. Right? So if we talk about valence electrons, then what property do we see when we move in a group from top to bottom? What happens to the valence electrons? What do you remember? In a group, when we are moving from top to bottom, or if we move from bottom to top, the number of valence electrons remains same. If it is group 1, the number of valence electron is 1. If it is group 2, the number of valence electron is 2. And it goes on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here, when I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm ignoring the D block. So group 1, 2, then if you start from group 13, aluminum wala group, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So argon will have 8, helium will have 8 valence electron, whereas hydrogen, lithium, sodium, they will have 1 valence electrons. Beryllium, magnesium, calcium, they will have 2 valence electrons. Valence electrons are the number of electrons in the outermost shell. So if you have written the electronic configuration, see what is the electronic configuration of hydrogen, see what is the electronic configuration of beryllium. Beryllium, you have written 2, 2. Calcium, you have written 2, 8, 8, 2. So the valence electrons remain same in a group, whether we go from top to bottom or bottom to top, they remain same. Next question. What happens to the valence electrons when we move from left to right in a period? I have already answered this question. Let's see if you have caught it, if you have understood. In a period, when we move from left to right, so take the example of potassium and calcium. Potassium is 2881. Calcium is 2882. Lithium is 21. Beryllium is 22. Right? So it is increasing one at a time. Group number is increasing, so valence electrons are also increasing. Don't confuse valence electron with something else that is coming next on your screen, which is valency. Valency is something different. Valency is not the number of electrons. Valency is the number of electrons that are gained or lost or shared while forming a chemical bond. This follows the law of stability, the law of octet. Now think and tell, what happens to the valency in a group from top to bottom or bottom to top? You have to connect it to the valence electrons. If you understand what is happening to valence electrons, we will be able to understand what is happening to the valency. Correct, Prachi? Correct answer. Because the number of valence electrons remains same in a group, from top to bottom or bottom to top, the valency also remains same. Valency directly depends on the number of valence electrons. It is not the valence electrons, but it depends on the valence electrons. Using the same concept, you can answer now what happens to the valency in a period from left to right. Think what is happening to the valence electrons, and then you can answer. As Prachi answered, first, when we go from left to right in a period, valency first increases, then it decreases. And Khadija made it absolutely perfect by saying it first increases from 1 to 4, then it decreases from 4 to 0. Correct. So from group 1 to group 14, it increases from 1 to 4. From group 14 to group 18, it decreases from 4 to 0. Because from group 1 to group 4, we have elements that lose electrons to form an ion, to form a bond. They are metals. From group 14 onwards, the elements gain electrons to form an ion, a negative ion, to form a bond. They are non-metals. Right? So first they increase from 1 to 4, then they decrease from 4 to 0. Good. Next thing is, what is happening to the atomic size? Once again, what is happening to the atomic size in a group? So when we go down a group from top to bottom, we will find elements with atoms with more and more number of shells of electrons. And because there are more shells of electrons, the size increases. Size definitely increases from top to bottom in a group. And when we do the ulta direction, that is from bottom to top, the size will decrease. Alfia, size will decrease from bottom to top, not from top to bottom. Top to bottom, the size will increase. What happens to the atomic size when we move in a period from left to right? So when we look at the elements in a period from left to right, what is happening is the number of shells in their atoms, they remain same, but the number of electrons around the nucleus and the number of protons inside the nucleus, they keep on increasing. Because they keep on increasing, positives and negative charges, they attract each other. So the size keep on decreasing. In a period from left to right, the atomic size decreases, whereas the atomic number increases. Wonderful, Khadija. Another character, another property, periodic property, which is metallic and non-metallic character. Or we can, if you understand one, the other one is completely opposite. What is happening to the metallic character in a group when we move from top to bottom? Very good, Prachi. Correct chance. I hope you are referring to the right place. All the answers are there at just one place in the textbook. Just one place. Okay. So, as we already said, when we move down a group, we have elements with bigger and bigger atoms. Because the atomic size is increasing, the electrons are further and further away from the nucleus. And if the electrons are further and further away, it becomes easier to lose the electrons. The property of losing electron, the tendency to lose the electrons, is called the metallic property. It is also called as the electropositivity. Because it is easy to lose electrons, we will say the metallic character increases. At the same time, we can also say that the non-metallic character decreases. Use similar logic to find out what happens to the metallic character of the elements when we move in a period from left to right. We already know that when we move left to right in a period, the size of the atom decreases. Decreases means the electrons are closer to the nucleus. That means there is bigger force. The strength of the force is higher. It is more and more difficult to lose the electrons. That means the metallic character decreases. And when the metallic character decreases, the non-metallic character increases. Very, very simple, but it is related to the size. It is related to the force of attraction between the nucleus and the electrons. Very good. One last property, which is gradation. And strictly speaking, can we say it periodic? I am not so sure, because this property is not in a period. This property is only in a group. Try remember what happens in case of gradation. Gradation can occur in terms of physical properties. So one example is the example of halogens. So when we move from say fluorine to bromine, right? The physical state changes. Fluorine and chlorine are gases. Bromine is liquid. Iodine is a solid. The properties remain same, but the strength of the property changes. It increases or decreases. In this case, the atoms are packed closer and closer. So from gas to liquid to solid. This is gradation. Similarly, if we take the example of the alkaline earth metals, that is group 2, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, they show a gradation in the chemical properties. I mean, how easy or how difficult it is for them to react with water. Magnesium reacts with steam only. See here. That means hot water. Calcium and strontium and barium react with water at room temperature with increasing rates. So the reaction becomes easier and easier. Garam karne ki zarurat nahi. Beryllium does not react. So from beryllium to barium, the reactivity of alkaline earth metals with water increases. So this is a gradation. The common property is all of them react with water. That is the common property. Gradation means change. How good or how fast the reaction is, how big the reaction is, that changes. Definitely remember that what is happening to the properties when we move in a period from left to right is not gradation. Gradation is found only in a group, in a particular group, either in the physical properties or in the chemical properties. Nothing, no gradation in a period. I think that completes the revision, but how can we finish without showing this, without seeing this diagram? If you were referring to this diagram in the textbook while we were revising, you would have been able to answer all the questions, right? If when I was asking what is happening to the valence electrons or atomic size or the metallic character, the answers are right here. If you want to know what is happening to the property down a group, then we have to look at this, the right hand side. If you want to know what is happening to those properties in a period, then we have to look at the top. The only thing that is not given in this diagram, and I had asked you to add, was about valency, which is ultimately related to the valence electrons or the electronic configuration. This is what you should have referred to. कहीं पर भी पेज में अंदर में चैप्टर में जाके कुछ ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं थी. That definitely completes our revision for this chapter. So what you are going to do as part of homework is, you will revise all the questions that are there in the chapter, both inside the chapter and at the end of the chapter. Send me a message that you have understood all the questions. If you have not understood, if there is any doubt, make a list. This is a very important chapter. Make a list of all your questions and we can discuss it again. You make this list and you confirm your understanding before you go to sleep tonight.